Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming today. My name is Cormac Foster, and today I'm going to talk about some of the values of a complete end-to-end DevOps platform deployed as a single application. If you are familiar with GitLab, and you've been watching us for a while, or you saw Dave Astor's fantastic infomercial today, you're probably familiar with the concept of a DevOps platform. Because I really do want to spend my time showing you rather than just kind of talking about things in the abstract. But actually, let's just jump back to the website for a second. Page one, our homepage. GitLab is the open DevOps platform. There are a lot of folks who have a lot of opinions about what that means. Gartner has their own. I'll be talking about that in a second. But for the purposes of today's talk, I'd like to talk about what it means to me in the context of this discussion. So a complete DevOps platform, that means everything you need to turn ideas into functioning, valuable, secure software. So your planning, your collaboration, the actual creation of the work, the software that you're building, the testing of that, including security testing, the ability to stand up all the operational things that you need to do to actually have an environment in which you can run that, and then the deployment of that software, and then ultimately the monitoring of it so you can make sure that it's healthy and continues to deliver value. That's everything that we mean when we say end-to-end. It really is everything you need to get that idea out there and in the hands of your users. The other thing that I want to talk about is the single application. When I talk about deploying that platform as a single application, I mean one UX, one tool to learn, but most importantly, there's one data store because it is a single application. There's one data store sitting underneath everything that you do, regardless of where in that SDLC you are, regardless of who you are and what interface you're using to interact with that data. So it's one data store, and what that does is it unlocks some of the things that I'll show you today, and a lot of other value as well, but it unlocks the ability for GitLab, the product, to surface value and to surface insights right in front of you. So today, and that's out of the box without having to do any customization. So I can't show you all of the benefits of a platform today, but what I want to focus on are two things. I want to focus on visibility, and by that I mean the ability to see and understand the context of what's happening in your organization. So not just a snapshot, not just a dashboard or a report that gets emailed to you. I'm talking about actually understanding where you are in the scope of work and what the impact of what you're doing and other folks are doing is. So that's what I mean by visibility. And then when I talk about actionability, what I mean is the ability to actually take that information, that contextual information that you're getting on your end-to-end, the scope of all the work that needs to be done, and actually doing something with it. So not looking at the information, learning what you can from it, and saying, okay, now let's have a meeting with someone else to discuss what we're going to do with that. We'll come up with a strategy, we'll come up with more questions, and then we'll send out more emails asking for more information so we can make an informed decision. And then, somewhere down the line, we're going to actually do something with it. We're talking about actionability at the point of understanding. We at GitLab are an all-remote company. We have 1,300 employees in about 60 countries. We are very, very much an asynchronous company. If I had to wait to have a synchronous conversation with someone else in the company to actually get something done, it might take me several days, and the entire company would slow down. We wouldn't be able to work at the speed we are, and we certainly wouldn't be able to engage with the wider community, which also participates, and thank you, by the way, for that, which also participates in building our product and our vision. So that's what I mean when I talk about visibility and actionability. So I will be showing these today by going through the same data, the same projects from a few different perspectives, a couple of different roles, and looking at the various ways you can engage with information regardless of where you're coming from in the product. So to start with, let's say I'm a CMO. Or a portfolio manager, someone who wants an overview of how multiple projects or programs or products are progressing toward their quarterly goals. So to do that, I might want to look at a roadmap view of what we call epics. For those of you who are not familiar with epics, epics are an organizational construct. They're effectively folders, if you want to think of them that way, in which you can organize the work that you're doing. That work could be issues or merge requests, or if you're using GitLab Ultimate, you can actually include epics within other epics. We have nested sub-epics in Ultimate, and that's what we're doing right now. So what we have here is a roadmap view of our epics, broken out by quarters, and I've searched for a string of use case. Now, use case is what we call, and you can search by a number of other things. We'll be talking about labels in a second. But the current filter I have is on everything with the phrase use case in it. And a use case is, as you would expect, a way that people use our software. It's also how we organize our campaigns. So CI/CD is a very popular way that people use the GitLab product. So we have a CI/CD use case. So if we look here through the various statuses of these epics here, the use case go-to-market overview master epic that includes all of these sub-epics is about 62% done. Now, if that's all I need, if I just need an update, I just need to know how close to done it was. 62% is better than the 61% I saw yesterday. That's great. I look at this, I see that, I'm done. If I want more information, though, I can just toggle these and I can click in, and all that information is there for me. So I can see what rolls up to this higher level number. So looking down here, for instance, I can see that the DevSecOps use case is 91% done. Looking into that, I can see that some of the sub-epics are 100% done, some are less done than that. And that's great. Again, that might be all the information that I need. But if I want more information, I can just click into that and do it in a separate tab so we can go back. I can click into that and I can see, again, a more detailed view of the epic. So I can see here that we have different resource pages, and within that we have different issues, and we might even have sub-epics as well. Again, we can nest multiple levels of epics if you are using GitLab Ultimate. Now, one of the things that pops out to me here is in red for all to see is that there is a due date here of July 24th last year. Now, clearly that is something that is overdue, and in other systems, that might be as far as I can go. I might need to log into a separate system to see what's actually going on with that. I may not have access to that. There are a number of things that could slow me down here. It's an interesting point of information, but I need to be able to do something with it. In this case, I can just click on it, and I can go into the actual issue. And then I can look through and I can see at a glance, really, all the collaboration that's happened around the issue. I could see the initial issue, what someone wanted to set out to do, what the discussion was about. I could scroll down, I could see that collaboration. I could see that 7 months ago that this was closed. And if I scroll to the very end, I can see that I have the option to reopen it if I want. So it is definitely, very definitely closed. But at the same time, I have a due date that is passed, and I might just want to remove that due date now that I know that it's closed. But I don't have to. I can take all sorts of action with this. I can reassign this to someone. I could reassign it to myself, for instance. I could assign it to someone else. Let's say Cindy is on vacation and someone else needs to look at this. I can assign this to that person. If I do that, this will show up in their to-do list. It's one integrated system. I can comment. I could mention someone. Say Cormac Foster, fix this or look at this. There are a lot of things that I could do. But what's also kind of neat is that if we look up here, we can see that this is linked to a merge request. Now, a merge request, if you're not familiar, is essentially a workspace. It's the place in which work happens. So you might start with an issue where you discuss what you'd like to do. Like, wouldn't it be great if we could change the background color from green to blue? You discuss that, you decide it's a good idea, so then you spin up a merge request. And the merge request is where you actually make the changes. And here we can actually see changes that were presented. And in this case, we're talking about the website, so the changes are all going to be text. But I can interact with this here as well. So again, even though I'm maybe a portfolio manager who normally doesn't care about the nuts and bolts of what text is getting moved around where on the website or what code's being committed. There might be a situation in which I care very much about that. And if I do care about it, I want to be able to get to that. I want to make those changes right now. So I can leave a comment here and I can say, hey, what's this all about? I can actually insert a suggestion where I say, instead of the first 6 discover questions, why don't we just say, 16? And let's add that comment. And then the person who's responsible for this, whoever the DRI is, directly responsible individual, can click a button that's automatically committed. And not only is that change committed, but there's a record of it here in the merge request itself, tied to all the other code changes, all the other commits, all the pipelines that have run from that. So again, this is not necessarily something that a chief marketing officer would be doing every day, although at GitLab it likely is. We have a very flat organization, and everyone is encouraged to contribute at every level of that organization. So it's not unsurprising that happens. But when you do, you want to be able to get from this to this in just a couple of clicks, and you can. So that really is both the visibility and the context, because you don't want to see the details of 5,000 issues in 400 epics when you boot up your dashboard at the top of the day. But you do want to be able to have that contextual visibility and then get in there and actually make a change. Now, if we go back to the issue, one of the things in here that's pretty cool is labels. So labels are really, really interesting, and they're really powerful. They're customizable attributes that GitLab users can apply to just about anything. You can apply a label to an epic, to an issue, as we've seen here, to a merge request. And what's great about labels is they're so powerful because they're so customizable. I can create a label for anything I want. I can create a label that says, Cormac is fantastic, and I can apply that to anything I think that shows why Cormac is fantastic, or whatever that is that I want to do. More common use cases, although feel free to use that label, but more common use cases would be labeling something as a bug, or labeling a priority 1, 2, 3, code, red, green, yellow. Whatever it is you want to do with labels, you can. And we have something called scope labels here that are particularly interesting. So you'll see marketing status, plan, SM request, assigned. These are scope labels. Now, a scope label is mutually exclusive with all other scope labels in that family. So if, for instance, we type marketing status, see a number of scope labels here. And after the 2 colons, you'll see marketing status, work in progress, plan, design, review, triage, blocked. Now, I can assign any one of these labels to this issue. When I do that, it will remove any other scoped label in the same family, because you can only exist in one of those states. They're mutually exclusive. So what that allows me to do is to map really any kind of custom workflow I want. So in this case, it's about the status, how far along a request is. Is it something we're still looking at and triaging? Is it something that we're actively working on? Is it something that we're going to work on, but we're going to work on it later? Whatever it is that you want to do, you can do with labels. And I've created a very simple project in a group, Acme Bicycle Company. And what we have here is we have the site blog where we talk about bicycles. We have a blog post, what bikes do, another blog post, why bikes are great. And we have very simple stages that we've defined with scoped labels. So something can be in design, it can be in writing, or it can be in editing. So right now, blog post 2, why bikes are great, that is in the writing stage. When I'm done with that, I could edit this label and I could change it to editing, or in this case, since I'm using a board view, I could just drag it over. Now what that does is it applies the stage editing label and it removes the stage writing label. So again, this is just a way that I can use a very simple construct to define workflows. But since we are a single application, I can use these labels across the issues I use to plan things, the merge requests I use to implement those plans, and then those epics that I use to organize all of that. So I can have the same label across those, so I can search and filter on the labels that I want to apply. So it's very simple to do that when you're using a platform. It's very, very difficult to do that if you're using, say, 4 or 5 or 6 or as many as 10 or 20 tools in some cases of our customers, and you're stitching those all together. So again, visibility, actionability, and what's cool is that if I go into the issue and I can actually see the whole history of all the times, clearly I've done this before, I've moved these around, and you can see the labels being removed and added, and I've actually even tied this to a merge request as well. So you can see here we have some changes, some text changes that were added to the README file, and then some collaboration I'm having with myself, asking if bikes are really better than cars, answering that yes, they really are. And because we have the answer, I'm going to resolve that thread. And again, all of that for all time will be archived together. So I will always have that context, from epic all the way down to issue to code change. So labels are great, and the ability to label things the way you want to label things, so you can work the way you want to and track the kinds of things and search on the kind of things that you want to, are great. But sometimes you do want to visualize that. Dashboards are great. Dashboards can help you identify trends. There's a reason they exist. So this is an example of a live dashboard that we've created in the strategic marketing group, and product marketing sits inside of strategic marketing. And you can see here that we've applied all sorts of labels, in this case, many of them scoped, looking at the status of strategic marketing requests. How many are canceled or declined or transferred or moved to a backlog, completed. And we have created this dashboard ourselves. And I've said it before, if a marketing group can do it, you can do it. We did this without help. We just looked at the docs, configured a few files, and we had our own dashboard. And then the product marketing group within strategic marketing wants to look at different things. So we've created a dashboard as well, so that we can track, for instance, how many requests are coming from different groups, how many of the things that we're producing are external assets versus internal assets. And this is something that you can do as well. So you can label whatever you want. You can map that to processes, whatever processes you want to map. It's very, very customizable and very powerful. And then you can use insights to visualize it. And again, that's all built into this system because it's all one system. But when you're using a platform, you shouldn't have to do custom work just to track the status of work and to learn things about the quality of your work or blockers in your work. That's something that the system should be able to surface for you. And that's why we have something called value stream analytics. So what we've done with value stream analytics, and again, none of this requires any customization. If you are using the system, if you are using issues, if you are using merge requests, and you are using, say, continuous integration, this is going to populate on its own. Value stream analytics is an interface that, potentially the CMO or the product owner isn't really going to spend a whole lot of time looking at. This won't be there. They might start with the kind of roadmap epics view. That might be where they spend most of their day. This would probably be, and again, this is available to everyone with a GitLab account. You have some form of value stream analytics available to you. But this is probably where a development manager would spend a lot of their time, or maybe a product owner who's really interested in time to value and moving things along, or a scrum master, someone like that. So what this does is it takes the SDLC and it breaks it down. So you have some high-level metrics like deployment frequency and things that would be familiar to folks who are familiar with, say, DORA metrics. And you can sort that by time and a number of other things. But we break it down into stages that will probably matter to most people most of the time. So in this case, we're looking again at changes to the website. So we've got almost 4,000 deploys a day over the last 30 days. If you look at the 90-day average, it's actually closer to 4,200. These deploys are all, these changes are all probably generally fairly small. They're text changes to the website. They're graphical changes to the website. So this will look a little different than a project in which you're developing enterprise software, for instance. but the concept is the same. So we can see that issues are created very quickly. They sit in the plan stage between issue and implementation for a little under a week. That might make sense because that's where the collaboration is happening and we're making decisions about what to do. And again, GitLab is a very collaborative company. So that looks fine to me. The coding stage, that's fine. Time until first merge request. If you're going to make a merge request, you want to make a change. Again, these are probably copy changes in many cases, so it's going to be fairly fast. The tests are pretty, 17 minutes. That's acceptable to me. Now, review 3 hours. If you look at some software development projects, you'll see, maybe total 5 hours above review, and then you'll see review, it'll be 7 days. So in this case, 3 hours, maybe I can do something about that, but certainly this is a place where I might identify something. If I'm a development manager, I might say, well, hey, this is a whole bunch of value that's already been created. It's not being shipped to the customer because we just haven't reviewed our code. It probably makes sense for me to take a few developers or a few hours of time from all of the developers or whomever needs to review this and have them do some code review. Let's get this out of the queue and let's get this pushed to the people who can use it. But it doesn't just stop there. So it's but wait, there's more moment, because again, this is all actionable information. This isn't a high-level dashboard where I then have to go and search through, export data and run it through a spreadsheet, try to find who should be working on what. I can look over here to the right and I can see exactly what is taking all the time. I mean, this is 38 minutes. Maybe that's not something I need to worry about right now, but this has been sitting there for 20 days. So I'm just going to open this and I'm going to say, hey, what can I do about this? What can I do to help right now? How can I change this? And can I change this by assigning it to someone new? Can I change it by collaborating here and mention something? Do I want to move it to a new milestone? Whatever it is that I want to do, I can go in and review those changes again, and I can suggest my own changes, all the things that we discussed before. I can do all of that from that dashboard. And again, just like we saw with the CMO, that was just a couple of clicks from this one view. It's actually one click from this one view here, this high-level view, into actually getting the work done. So that's value stream analytics. Now, and that is the, say, development manager persona or the Scrum Master persona. There are other people who use this product. Security. We have security teams who are probably going to spend their whole day in, one other thing I would actually like to mention about value stream analytics. I have to jump to another project in another group where I have greater permissions. Clearly, there's not a whole lot of data in here, but that's all out of the box. But we understand that not everyone is going to be able to represent everything that matters to them in that default set of stages. So we give you the option to hide stages that don't matter to you, to reorder stages up or down, and also to create new stages. So if I want to add another stage for something that matters to me, I can find a start event. So issue label was added. What label? Let's say first contribution. And my stop event is going to be issue label is removed. And I want to measure the time from issue label being added to removed. I can say label lifecycle, if that's important to me. I don't know why there's browser issue, but there you go, label lifecycle. And then I can add that stage. I can create a second value stream. So you can customize this. And again, it's an open DevOps platform. And a platform is something that makes it easy for you to build on, because there's that foundation underneath, that end-to-end foundation. It's not just integrated, it's one application. So adding this is incredibly easy because I have visibility into everything else. Now, if I'm in security, I would probably spend my day looking at the security dashboard or maybe a vulnerability report. Now, in this particular project, you're not going to see anything that's deliberate. I'm not opening up one of the live projects just because, to me, on a live broadcast, I'd rather not show anything that maybe we don't want the public to see if there's a vulnerability that just showed up. But the important thing to know is that with the vulnerability report, when a vulnerability does show up, I can click on it. I can click through to the line of code that actually introduced the problem. I can click through into the pipeline where that came from. I can go from the pipeline to the merge request and go from the merge request all the way back to the issue that created it. If there is a requirement, I can look into the linked requirement and I can trace that all the way back up to the epic. So I have that end-to-end visibility as well, and it's actionable. So I said I didn't want to show live data. So here's a screenshot I grabbed of something without any sensitive data in it. But all of this is going to show up in the merge request. And again, that merge request is where we have the overview of all the collaboration that's happened in that workspace. We have all the commits that have been made. We have the pipelines that ran because of it. We have the actual code changes. So again, even though I'm a security professional, with just a couple of clicks, I can go from a vulnerability that has made it all the way through to back to the merge request, to the changes. I can collaborate with the developers who made those changes. I know exactly who did it. I don't have to unfurl that at the, somewhere and kind of chase down the people who are responsible for things. And what's wonderful about that is that all this information is captured in one place and visible through a number of places. So this merge request here is a really wonderful tool for a lot of different people. For the developer, if I make this commit and I see that I have 891, critical vulnerabilities that I have introduced, I know that's a problem. You're not typically going to see 891. But if I see the impact of my change as soon as I make it, I also see the impact on performance and license compliance and other kind of quality related tests that run as soon as I run them. And I can go and I can fix that before it actually makes it any farther down into the main branch and other people start building on it. So I have actionable information as a developer. I have actionable information as a security professional who can trace that back. And if I'm audited, I have this one artifact that contains all of this and links to everything else that I can just point an auditor to and say, here you go. The auditor doesn't have to spend 2 weeks trying to figure out what my company does, spend another 2 weeks trying to find patterns and anti-patterns, then identify some problems, and then try to figure out who introduced what and when and why, and who made an exception and said that something was okay, and why this whole code change happened in the first place. So all of that is available immediately out of the box because we're a DevOps platform. And then finally, in the closing minutes here, I do want to talk a little bit about Gartner and a new report that came out. So at the end of last year, Gartner came out with a market guide for what they call DevOps Value Stream Delivery Platforms, or VSDPs. Now, we have been a DevOps platform since the beginning. Deployed as a single application. That's the way GitLab has always done things. It's who we are, and it's who we are as a company and not just a product. But we are really excited to see that other folks in the industry have started to recognize that that is a really valid direction to go. And Gartner came out with this wonderful report. If you have an account manager you're speaking with, they can actually get you a copy of this report, or you can just go to this page on our website, fill out the form and download it. It's a really great read. We are listed as a representative vendor, and I think the important thing to note about this end-to-end platform is that it allows you to do more of what you want to do. It allows you to spend more time putting value in the hands of your users and less time integrating things and maintaining those integrations and hunting things down and emailing folks or slacking them and asking them for more information and then having to follow up later. You can actually find the information you need now with the context you need now, and all of that information is going to be actionable. You can actually do something right now to move that along and iterate faster and together and create more value.